G'day, ladies and gentlemen, blokes and Sheilas, fellow sippers, freedom fighters, freedom lovers. Sips to you. I'm in a bit of a homebrew today. Why not? So, as you probably tell, pain. Pain is the theme today because the backdrop has a Blade Runner Dickens kind of vibe to it. Yeah, it kind of did, actually. It's a little bit of an AI thing. All I did was type in man doubled over with back pain, in a dystopian future sort of setting. I think there might have been something cyber future, dystopian cyber future. Because it's kind of how I feel right now. So I just decided to run it through a different couple of AI picture generators, and that was the one I liked the most. I thought, yep, that sums it up. That's how I feel. So let's deal with that one. I don't know how long I'll be here today, ladies and gentlemen. Like, sitting in a chair for an extended period of time is still a bit of a challenge. It's getting better, which is good. The physiotherapist assured me this week that, look, I know it feels a bit like you've gone right back to the freaking beginning, but I remember a bloke coming in here a year ago who could barely walk. You're a lot better than that. So, look, it is what it is, but another kick in the pants while I'm having a bit of a relapse. Work cover decide they're going to pull the rug out from underneath me, cease all treatments because they've decided the treatments aren't going to help, and offer me a really shitty amount of money as a payout. And I'm looking at it going, I don't see this compensating me for the amount of money I've lost already, let alone the next 40 years of God knows what I'm going to have to go through after you guys declare that I have a permanent disability. So, obviously a bit of research is going to have to be made before I go making any decisions. I've got bigger brains than mine on it at the moment, and we'll discuss that over the next few days. I can't even get in to talk to anyone in the thing. Troy, how are you, mate? No, I'm not having fun, but, I'll live. I know you're not having fun. And the last person I should complain to is you, my friend. You're going through one hell of a trial. I see Anne-Marie Greenie has declared that she thinks she's fit to lead this town. I don't know if you laughed as hard as I did with the mainstream media thing. Like, she didn't even mention you, Troy. I don't know if you're feeling a bit hurt about that. Like, she didn't want to talk about you in that. They just talked about how Nick has been seen with white supremacists, So, yep, let the shit flinging begin. We'll see how we go, hey? But, the situation today was a bit depressing, and I was kind of a bit, you know what? Do I even want to do anything today? And it's like, all these beautiful people out here are depending on me. So, I've got to put something together through amidst all this chaos and decision making that I've got to do. So I grabbed a few bits and pieces and had a bit of a squiz at the internet to see what's going on in the crazy world, because part of the healing process is to not absorb too much other bullshit, like just focusing on me. Yeah, it's not good, eh? Yeah, I'm glad you laughed as much as I did, brother. I thought it was fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm sure half of Townsville at least is laughing at her. I don't think she could win her own seat back at the moment. I seen, I think it was Brody Phillips or whatever it is, one of the idiot councillors up here, also stated today that it was good they got $35,000 in funding to increase their Big Brother net. Of course, they worded it as a city safe precinct or some leftist bullshit like that. I just couldn't help but jump on and go, mate, instead of trying to implement, more of a Big Brother totalitarian system, perhaps maybe you could try fixing the sewage system. We can't, the Townsville sewage system can't handle the overload, because every time one of you guys opens your mouths, it just comes flowing down the street. So, or something to that. I paraphrased my own shit, something like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just look at the Townsville City Council and anyone who there's sewage coming down the street, they're overloading it with the ideas they come up with. So anyway, was it something Rachel's got? She's got tickets on herself. Bloody oath, and they're overpriced. Overpriced tickets. So anyway, I got a couple of bits and pieces, things I kind of found during I had one on the Uluru statement, but somehow it saved the wrong video. So we'll deal with that another day. Grab that. And let's drop this into the meme folder. So a couple of little things I seen that I got a bit of a chuckle out of, in one way or another. Some things are chuckle worthy, some things are frustration worthy. So let's have a quick squeeze. Let's share the screen. Yeah, I got a good laugh out of this one. So I need you to write letters to the people who have screwed you and then throw them into the fire. And of course, Mr. Koala has a very important question. Okay, but what the fuck do I do with the letters? I'm like, that's gold. That's gold. But we're not encouraging violence. I'm just laughing at a joke. Okay, relax, breathe. ASIO, breathe. Have a drink. Sips to you. Oh, I thought it was funny. Anyway, hey, look, a big old pile of saving the planet. I have a feeling I've done this one before, but I've seen it again today, and I'm like, no, it's got to be done. That's nothing says environmentalism like a picture like that, eh? Quick COVID update. Getting vaccinated is still the best way to avoid the worst outcomes of COVID-19 for both children and adults, according to the US FDA. Americans do everything backwards. So I'm assuming that's the month, the 3rd and the 1st of that month, 2023. And here we are just a month ago. Again, I'm assuming that that's the date is the 7th and whatnot month and the 1st of that 7th month. And today the FDA provided important updates on the risks of myocarditis after receiving an mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, noting the risk is higher in young men. These are not my words. I am not a doctor. Neither is the FDA, but apparently they know better. But anyway, that's right there. I didn't make this. I didn't make it. Digital IDs will be mandatory to work in the UK, according to Keir Starmer, which is an interesting one. And we'll come to, Britain's response to the way he's doing things. And you have to wonder, this knobby spoke to elbow lately, and they seem to be cut from the same cloth, I think they all shop at the same communist store, get the same communist propaganda and the same communist ideas. That's probably why they look so much the same and they act so much the same. And let's face it, communism only paints with one color, red. So, anyway, this was a good one. You'll make our new hens feel welcome. Our new hen feel welcome, won't you, ladies? Good old Jacinta. The old Jacinta had a prison farm song. I believe it could be referring to the fact that she's allowing male sex offenders into women's prisons. What could go wrong? I don't know. I'm not that creative, I'm certainly not as creative as the Labor government. To the imagination these people have about, what is a man and what is a woman. And I mean, they're so creative about what a woman is that they don't even have an answer for that question themselves, which I find is really fascinating, very fascinating. I think when sanity finally consumes insanity, which it will, and it has, and it's working, ladies and gentlemen. We've already won. We're just going through the motions, but that doesn't mean you kick back, have a beer, and celebrate just yet. But we will go sips anyway. So, but yeah. Anyway, here's another example of sanity being restored to the world. YouTube just agreed to pay President Trump to $24.5 million for suspending his account in 2021. Facebook agreed to pay Trump $25 million for suspending him. Twitter just agreed to pay Trump $10 million for suspending him. ABC News agreed to pay Trump $15 million to settle a defamation lawsuit. 60 Minutes agreed to pay Trump $16 million for editing Kamala Harris interview. Censorship and lies are finally coming back to bite big tech. Wonder who else it might come to bite in time to come. It'd be good to see. Bit of justice rolling through. Actually, that was another one, but we'll come to that later. Some more justice is on its way, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. What do you got to say to this entity, this nondescript being? I think I've read it in one post. Somebody actually said in your pants, "You fucking weirdo," or something to that effect. I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't say it. I just read it and thought it was funny. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? What's your advice to somebody who's so confused they don't know what gender they are? I shouldn't laugh. Like these people are really, they need proper help, not encouragement. That's my view. These are fellow human beings, and we should have a little bit of respect, I guess. Try to do my best. Is this backwards? Hang on. No, I think that's right. Anyway, it's always weird. Anyway. Quick question. Does Tylenol affect pregnant men the same way? They only seem to be talking about pregnant women for some reason. Oh, gosh. I think I got splinters. Fuck. Anyone got an idea there? I'm confused. What about all these poor pregnant men? Should they stop taking Tylenol? Well, I don't know. They just need to go and have a shit. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I was backed up the other day. I'm sure everybody wants to know about my toilet humor. Of course, why else would you tune in? Yeah, it's nothing quite like, consuming a shitload of painkillers for a few days straight and then going, oh, I better back off for a bit. I haven't had a crap. And then allowing it to pass and suddenly realizing, oh my God, I'm glad I'm not a woman, because trying to get that out, I can't imagine what it's like to get a baby out. By God. It was like, all right, who's been to the boulders up in North Queensland? I kind of felt like I was dropping one of them. Sips, it helps me go through. I'll tell you what, there's a couple of reasons I'm having trouble sitting down, I can tell you. So here's another one. Leftist logic at its finest. Think of socialism like a fancy baked good. So I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking, like, instead of just your standard cupcake, this is a little bit more of a tower, and maybe it's the Twin Towers, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get the plane to fly into it or something. Once we make it out of icing, things could go bad, and you could burn the souffle, for instance. But anyway, just because many have made a mess of the kitchen attempting it doesn't mean you should go around declaring you'll never eat a souffle or the Twin Towers cupcake ever again. It just means you try harder, apparently. And obviously the reply underneath really does says it all. Oh no, I burned the souffle again. Socialism always works so well. Like, I mean, it did wonders for Russia, the 100 years of darkness that was United Socialist Soviet Republic. They called it socialism, United Soviet Socialist Republic, something to that effect. I probably got that wrong, but the right words, perhaps the wrong one. Did. Hey, Benny, mate, just saw the start. Hope you start feeling a little better. And you too, Did. I won't mention your scenario, but best of luck to you, buddy. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So avocado daily, it helps. I'll bear that in mind next time I've got to remove a boulder from my bowels. Thank you. But yeah, this really does sum up socialism quite well. And of course, as the Labour Party continues to hate me for pointing out, socialist workers' parties, doesn't matter whether it was the Russian version or the German version, it kind of ends a lot like this picture. So I don't know how many souffles we want to burn, ladies and gentlemen. Personally, I think that perhaps the recipe is fucked. Just a thought, because if they want to refer to it in this fashion, at the end of the day, if the recipe is followed by many people, and many people have followed the same recipe, and they continue to burn the kitchen down, then perhaps there's something wrong with the fucking recipe. Just a thought. Can you imagine the socialist bake sale? Can you imagine what that looks like? Like, I mean, obviously, this picture here is an interesting one, but let's go back to our Twin Towers cupcakes, for instance. You see all these confused people who don't seem to know what gender they are, and multiple colors in their friggin' hair, and look like they're going to cut up in somebody's fucking tackle box or something. Not that I could talk with the amount of piercings got my ears, but I did. You just got to paint that picture. All these burnt, fucked up things. a bake sale full of shit that's so bad that they themselves can't even eat it. You know, it reminded me, you know, of a friend, the family we used to have once upon a time, who'd always lob up, and you know, the standard protocol when you have a bit of a gathering or people bring something, you know, to share. You know, these are the people that always turned up with the cheapest, nastiest, horrible garbage and would never eat the shit that they brought. They'd always eat what everybody else ate, and nobody else could eat the cheap, nasty shit that they brought forth either. It just ends up in the bin, you know. I'm kind of figuring it's very similar to this, but it's a whole bake sale. You don't have better options. You've only got shit ones, you know. You know, even if they're the ones that split bumholes, you know, horrible options. But yeah. Oh, I'm not up to that drink yet. I'm up to this one still. Suppositories are handy to have for constipation. Yeah, well, look, all I had to do was stop taking some painkillers for a little while. It wasn't fun because it's that hurt, and then the other option hurt. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of sticking things up my butt. I don't know. It's just not one of my favorite things. I don't know. Maybe somebody else enjoys it. Best of luck to them, but it's just not my thing. Just not my thing. Literally sounds a bit like the Constitution when you put it like that, buddy. Try again. Yeah, I don't know that the Constitution's the problem. I think the problem is people aren't fucking following it. But you know, that's, you know, we'll have that debate all in good time when you're ready to pop back on, my friend. Oh, excuse me. So I know I was a little bit late, and the reason being is I actually found this right at the last minute. I'm like, I've got to sign this right here, right now. I know we've got, you know, 20 days left, I think it is, but I'm like, this is possibly one of the most important petitions for the government to ignore the will of the people yet again, much like, you know, when we, you know, had a vote of no confidence in the entire Townsville City Council, and you know, many people put that forth, you know, and the government chose to ignore it. So I imagine the government will probably ignore this too. But let's face it, a petition of a vote of no confidence in the Albanese government, I couldn't resist. I think I might suddenly suffer from a multiple personality disorder and just say it's okay. Like, I mean, men can be women, women can be men, and men can have babies and shit. So why can't I have a multiple personality disorder, and each one of my personalities needs to sign this? You know, just a thought. I'm not encouraging that kind of behavior, but you know, the thought did cross my mind, and then my mind, and then my mind again. So here, I'm going to share this with you because I think I feel that you'll be as excited about signing it as I was. You know, even if it is just a brief moment's pleasure. But I put it on Telegram for those of you who don't have access to comments or whatever, like on X and all that sort of shit. I just dropped the link there. Do I need to personally put that into Rumble? I can't remember. View live stream. Let's see, did it come up? I think I actually have to manually put it in here for you Rumblers. So there you go, Rumblers. There's one on the Cafe Locked Out side of things. And let's come to the North Queensland side of things, where, truth, I haven't got that up. Let's have to do a quick reset. Let's have a quick look. And my content. Another painful day. And Control V that, and stop that from doing that, and send. So there you go. I believe I've given it to everybody in the best way I possibly can. So yeah, there you go. CLR just posted. Yeah, cool, awesome. That was me. So there you go. Hopefully everybody's got it. Again, if you haven't got it for some reason, and none of the things I just tried worked, you can contact me at nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com, or you can just go straight to the Australian Parliament website. You know, you should be able to find it there. Although that website's a bit of a dog's breakfast. It's usually easy to have a link directly to what you want. You know, it's much like the old stereo instructions written in Chinese, kind of that website. But anyway, so okay, you can read that. It reminds me of Needle Dick again. I don't know. Sorry, I just couldn't help myself. I looked at it and what. UK, who was this one? Mark McDonald. The UK Gov petition for no digital ID. The government responded. Hang on. This response. was given on 2nd of October 2025. We will introduce a digital ID within this parliament to help tackle legal migration, make accessing government services easier, and enable wider efficiencies. We will consult on details soon. Wow, awesome. So anyway, it's worth a shot. Will it do anything? Probably not, but I think it's important we send that message loud and clear. I mean, when it comes to elbow, though, I'll just bring this down, and I'm going to have to switch backwards and forwards a few times here just because of the way things are set up. But as I was saying to someone today, you know, whenever I feel a bit down, one of my favorite things to do is just click on the first thing that Elbow said and just go through the comments and just have a look, you know, at how many people really love our prime minister. You know, like you can't make this shit up. You know, it's the creativity. And look at this stunning use of AI. Like, don't we have such clever people in Australia? Like, you know, the use of the prime minister's Twitter page is just astounding. You know, like, you're just hard pressed to find anybody who's got anything nice to say about this cockhead. I mean, if you were an alien being and you go, well, let's suss out leaders to go and have a look at, you go and look at his Twitter profile, what would you think? It's like, strength, maybe we should invade. We couldn't possibly do a worse job. I don't know. 1.2 million homes he owns. His own agency showed him falling well short. It's just amazing. You know, if ever you feel bad, whatever's happening in your life, just go and have a look at the comments section. Who cares what Elbow says? Like, nobody cares. You know, it's just great to see the comments. You know, that's what really matters. You know. I like that. For the first time ever, we can now simply post, he's an idiot, and the whole of Australia will know exactly who we're talking about. I don't know. There's such a collection of friggin' idiots. You know, you're a complete wanker, Elbow. Oh, nothing makes me feel bad. I love those. The new Australia toilet brush. Bloody oath. I mean, I just don't know that I can. I mean, it could be a cure for constipation, I guess. The Elbow toilet brush too. Could be used as a suppository. I don't know. You gotta love it. Full of shit. Oh, the creativity. It's so good. Judge me by my economic record. Oh, I turned Australia into third world shithole. Yeah, we're not wrong. He's only better than Mexico on this economic ranking. Wow. Look at that. Isn't that a good one for Financial View? Average productivity growth rate 2019 to 2024. Wow. That, you know, they say numbers don't lie, you know, unless the person telling them is full of shit. But, you know, I think in this particular instance, it seems to say a lot. Not good numbers. Yet he still thinks he's God's greatest gift to humanity. You know, and on that note, I want to I just realized what the picture was. That's gold. I'm going to leave it there because that just says so much. You know, the creativity of the Australian people when it comes to talking about the Prime Minister will forever put a smile on my face. Go Australia, go. So, I mean, here's another one of Australia's finest moments here. I got to share this one. This was sent to me by good old Darren Dixon, my good friend. Thank you for sharing this with me.
Serious challenges to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. I promise. Unfortunately, Tony Abbott is not the least bit interested in fixing anything. He's only interested in two things: making Australians afraid of it and telling them who's to blame for it.
I just think that Michael Douglas was much better at it than Albo.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? You know, you can always count on Elbow. You can always count on Elbow to provide entertainment. You know, like, do you think he looks? Oh, fueling the fire. PM admits new scheme will lift house prices. Well done. Thanks, man. That's exactly what young people want to hear, especially, even my son Tyler, he's 14 years old. I said to him the other day, if you don't like it, you better start saving your pennies and preparing to move out when you're old enough. And he's like, I'm saving for the rest of my life with these idiots running the country, or something to that effect. The bloody price of a house, it's ridiculous. He's 14 years old and he can see what a clown show this is. These people just lie flat out. Any wonder the sewers are overflowing in Townsville. Like, I mean, this guy just come in the other day with his verbal diarrhea. 34.7%. This is not a mandate. Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Anyway, I don't know about you. I think I'm all laughed out. So anyway, one of my, this is a good one. Some more of the E Karen's wonderful work. So Dries van Langenhoven, nationalist activists for Flanders, Belgium. So all the way in another country. And our e-safety commissioner is clearly so bored and struggling so hard with all the, memes that you get on X about her and Elbow and all the rest, that she's got the time to go and have a look at what a nationalist politician in Belgium has to say. And obviously, he's returned a comment. One of my posts about Irania Zatsuska, who I've never heard of until now, so I want to thank the E-Commissioner for bringing this to my attention, has been flagged as illegal by the Australian E-Safety Commissioner. I knew the Australian government was crazy since COVID and since they locked up nationalist activists. But why are they demanding X censors a European activist talking about an American murder? Good question. And here you go. Here you go. Hello. G'day, mate. From X, they say, in the interests of transparency, we are now writing to inform you that X has received a request from the E-Safety Commissioner Australia regarding your X account. It claims that the following content violates the laws of Australia. Like, what? This woman is an absolute retard. I'm surprised she's not selling one of them cakes at the bake sale, to be honest. She is a train wreck. And, if she's so concerned about foreign politics, please, by all means, get on a plane, Airbus elbow style, but just a one-way ticket and go somewhere else. Seriously, do Australia a favor. Maybe you'd prefer North Korea. Maybe you'd prefer China. I believe these are the kind of destinations that your mob like to go to frequently. So please buy yourself a ticket and fuck off. It's the last time we Australian taxpayers would like to pay for you. So anyway, Elon's waged a bit of a war here and on Netflix, and he's pointing out that they're grooming the children. Netflix has fucked up. And with Strawberry Shortcake, Berry in the Big City is promoting transgender drag queens to children. This is disgraceful. Utterly disgraceful. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do need to worry about what's coming through the internet, and it's not from Pornhub, it's from fucking Netflix. I think they'd be better off with Pornhub in some ways. At least it might tell them which bits go where, because these people are clearly confused about it. Here, Netflix is deliberately choosing to pay people to create sexualized content for children. Freedom of speech should be respected, but this is paid speech. And I'm inclined to agree. Netflix is going out of their way and reaching into their wallet to push this. Raise your hand if you resent Netflix, And what's this? Yeah. Look at this. This is not what you should be showing children. By God, leave the kids alone. There was another post he put in here too, I think, regarding these things. It was an earlier one. It's going. You can see I had a lot of time to prepare today. Hey, sorry, I was a little bit selfish and concerned about my own personal situation. It was very, very horrible of me. I know. I should be more socialistly minded and thinking of others for myself. What are we going? Where there's another one that was here we go. Real face of Netflix. Every recent movie on Netflix, white man is the villain. Just these are what they reckon. I don't watch Netflix myself. I tried it once or twice and I thought, God, there's a lot of garbage here. Every time they get a good show, they can it. I was quite the fan of that zombie one they had with Drew Barrymore. I thought that was pretty funny. And they canned that. And the Dark Crystal, that was brilliant. One season, down the dunny. I suppose, well, what was that show called again? The new Dark Crystal Netflix. It was I want to make sure I say it. Age of Resistance. I'm guessing the name of the show, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, in 2019 wasn't well received by the communist dictators, given that they were trying to push the biggest dictatorship of the planet at the time. Of course, they talk about money and all these other irrelevant things. Personally, I'm thinking the Age of Resistance, people standing against darkness, while the biggest darkness that had ever enveloped the human race happened through COVID 1984, was probably more likely the reasoning behind that. But anyway, where was I? So yeah, black man is the hero. Gay guy is the voice of reason. Woman has the balls. Dad is an idiot. Now, that's been something that's been happening for quite some time. You can see it in American sitcoms for quite some time. That role reversal situation has been happening for a bit. It's a bit disturbing. Mum is the breadwinner. By all means, Mum, you go be the breadwinner. I got no problem with that. I'm happy to stay home and play with the kids. And the children are sexualized. Netflix is social engineering, not entertainment. But of course, it hasn't really worked out well for them. Netflix, do you regret your mistakes yet? This is the past week. Netflix subscriptions are plummeting. So if you haven't got the message yet, ladies and gentlemen, now's probably a good time to give them the flick. Give Netflix the flick. Oops. You can even do the slow rotation for Netflix. Personally, I hate it. I don't like Netflix. I already have the internet. Everything's free. You just got to know where to look for it. Why would you pay? Got me done. I already pay, especially here in Australia. How expensive is the internet in this country? It's a fucking joke. Absolute joke. And you look around and they're all basically selling, you've got so many options. There's like 300 different internet providers, or billing agents would be more appropriate. The NBN is the net provider. And you got 300 companies pretending that you've got a solution, an option, because you can only choose NBN. But we're going to give the illusion of choice by having everybody present exactly the same packages with exactly the same overpriced shit and low speeds. Wow. Well, welcome to the illusion. You got to love it. You got to love it. Like, shit. The amount of money we pay for internet, the internet should be paying for every friggin' subscription as it is, the amount of money they're making off of us. We're getting rolled hard. This is a joke, and a bad one at that. Anyway, so Malcolm Roberts pointed out that this is not a balanced report. It's one-sided propaganda, and he's referring to One Nation Rejects the Islamophobia report. This is not balanced reporting. It's one-sided propaganda. Why is that, Mr. Malcolm? Let's have a look. So, it's the Islamophobia report, which was commissioned by the Albanese government, and we all know who he loves, and produced by the Special Envoy to Combat Islamophobia. The Special Envoy to Combat Islamophobia prepared it. How impartial could this possibly be? It's like, getting a pedophile to proceed over a pedophile's case, which I believe is happening quite a bit in the courts at the moment. At least it's a belief. I can't really substantiate it. But when you see pedophiles being let off with slaps on the wrist and eligible for parole in a year after committing some of the most horrific crimes I've ever seen, But we're going to have more on that because Heidi's promised to come back and talk about her encounter with the judge who did exactly that. So, her description of the guy was pretty interesting. But, we'll talk about that another day. Anyway, so, let's get somebody who's, is a special envoy to combat Islamophobia. It's his job. So he's prepared a report that outlines exactly what he needs to do. I mean, it's not like his job depends on the outcome or anything, hey? What possible motivation would he have to fuck with the findings? But anyway, the author, Mr. Malik Aftab, is a United Nations Alliance of Civilizations global expert. Really? If you gave the guy a globe and a cube, would he know the difference? on Muslim affairs. So there you go. I wonder if he read that terrorist book that I had, sorry, not terrorist book, the my past journey out of Islamic extremism, that I've recommended a few times. I wonder if he read that book. I reckon he probably should give it a go. Anyway, for many reasons, the report is a frustrating body of work that fundamentally fails to explain why Australians may hold views critical of Islam. Wonder why. There might be too much logic and reasoning in their reasons. But anyway, the report does not acknowledge the failings of Islam to integrate with Western society. In particular, there is no discussion on Sharia law. Anybody want Sharia law in their neighborhood? Just please let me know. Let's have an online vote right now. Do you want Sharia law? I mean, our law is pretty shit as it is. They're letting pedophiles run amok. Sharia law might sort them pedophiles out. Oh, actually, maybe it won't. I don't know. So yeah, no discussed Sharia law cited by Australia's allies as being of significant concern for the continuation of civil and human rights for women and members of the LGBTs. And I always find it really fascinating how the left are just so willing to, embrace anything, that they've embraced all these elements of concept, the things that they hate each other. Like we're so supportive of Islam, and you see these queers dressing up like an Islamic woman. It's like, seriously, go over to Islamic country and try that. I'm busting to see. There's a new Netflix documentary, might be able to save you friggin' ratings. Like, it does your head in. It's just illogical. One Nation rejects the Islamophobia report. Read the full article here. Okay. So, nationalist response. Australians are naturally protective of their legal progress towards making the country a world leader in rights and first world ideals. When culture arrives on the shores whose core religious beliefs and even cultural interpretations threaten those advancements, there will be a pushback to ensure that society is protected from regression of rights. That sounds logical. Politicians owe minority groups and vulnerable people protection from imported ideas. After all, even the United Nations acknowledges the large gap between the human rights of the Islamic world compared to that of Australia, or just about any other Western nation. We will not go backwards and undo our civil rights movement to accommodate the feelings of newly arrived migrants who made a choice to enter this beautiful country. Exactly. They came here to enjoy the way we do things, didn't they? Unless they're here for some other purpose. This, as they say, is not a negotiation. Let's see. You came here to acknowledge our way of doing things. Otherwise, why are you here? Australia will not be condemned to rewrite its moral core based upon hastily defined phobias because of cultural disagreement. There's a lot in here. Quite a big report. Feel free to read it yourself and go and have a look at Senator Malcolm Roberts' thing. But, I think that little core statement there kind of sums it up. But look, there's other things that we should probably take into consideration. Like, here's the view of a Muslim, as an ex-Muslim. So he was Muslim and he's decided, I don't want a part of this anymore, it would seem, Under Islamic Sharia law, any Muslim who gets their hands on me is duty-bound to kill me. That's coming from the horse's mouth. My fear of Islam isn't a phobia. It's genuine, rooted in 1,400 years of its bloody history. Nothing threatens Australia more than the alliance between Islam and the left. There you go. And the same thing was confirmed in the book that I just mentioned, My Journey Out of Islamic Extremism, by a Muslim who was recruiting for terrorist cells and found that the left bias universities were a wonderful place because they're just so accepting of everyone that they let terrorists set up cells there. That's how retarded this is. It's insane. And like for this particular ex-Muslim, good on them. They've realized that, hang on, we've made the error of our ways. I can see things are much better here in Australia. They've come here for that reason. Can you imagine how horrified they are to see that it's following them? They tried to escape this shit. Why? What insane asylum do you have to come from to think, hey, we should welcome in all the problems that come along with this? Like, no, bad. But I did find a very interesting correlation between the symbolism. Hey, communism and that. It's very interesting they chose such similar curvatures, sort of status and a 5-pointed star. I mean, it's been suggested that you look at that and you're supposed to think it's the moon, but apparently it's Venus, from what I've been told. Why Venus? I'm not 100% sure. Perhaps you should probably look into a little bit more about what's going on. So anyway, immigration obviously is a bit of an issue, and I really. And there was another thing, actually. Let me have a quick squeeze. Oh, yeah. Well, the final piece on that, the definition of Islamophobia by what I believe this guy's name is Randall Terry, I believe. But hey, this isn't my opinion. This is his. And I listened to it and I thought, well, I mean, even when I grabbed this, do I really want to dance with this shit? I mean, at the end of the day, to me, it's just an example of religion. And I don't particularly like religion. Anybody who wants to get in between you and the universe is a problem in my mind, particularly ones that encourage violence, and particularly ones who seem to think that their way or the highway, that it's not the way it should be. Try my best to understand people, but some things are just not comprehensible. But anyway, let's have a look at the old mates here.
Christianity from the Middle East, from Northern Africa, is the subjugation of nations to Sharia law. They'll only have a handful of people that are willing to say that Islam as a philosophy and as a theology and as a judicial playbook, as a law code, Sharia law, that it is a threat to humanity. It is a threat. So America is like, no, Islam's not a threat. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, if they had their way, you'd be dead.
All they have to do is say you're Islamophobic.
I don't give a crap about that. No, I'm afraid of tyranny. I'm afraid of oppression. I'm afraid of sex slavery. I'm afraid of injustice. And that's what Islam promotes. So these words mean nothing to me. Islamophobia, what does that even mean? I'm afraid of Sharia law. I'm afraid of getting my head cut off because I said Muhammad is a false prophet. Okay, sure.
I can't help but feel that final statement of what is Islamophobia. I'm afraid of having my head cut off because I won't join in. I think that's a pretty valid fear. I don't know about you. I mean, anybody else there that's not afraid of having their head cut off? Has anyone thought, you know what? I'd really like to have my head cut off today. Anybody? So, I mean, at the end of the day, it would seem to be a legitimate phobia in a certain construct. When you put it like that, I thought, wow, that actually sums it up pretty well. You have every right to be concerned about these things. Why shouldn't you be? And actually, we'll segue here for a moment because this will work. Sorry, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. And we'll bring in Albo. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese claims he contributed to the Gaza war peace. I love this. Like, only a mainstream could do this. Contributed to Gaza war peace. Sentence sink in. War peace. Gaza war peace deal announced by US President Donald Trump. Am I the only one struggling to digest that sentence? Gaza war peace deal. I don't know. Maybe it's just me and the way I see things. Maybe it's a normal, logical sentence, and maybe I'm the one that's gone nuts. But anyway, the Prime Minister has claimed there is no question. Apparently, no, you can't question it. But it would seem the article itself is doing that. He played a role in US President Donald Trump's unresolved Gaza war peace plan. Last I checked, he wouldn't even talk to the twit. Anyway, the US president recently announced a ceasefire proposal that he thrashed out with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Hamas has not yet accepted the deal, but the terror group would be forced to surrender, disarm, and hand over all power in the Gaza Strip if it accepts the proposal. Wondering what the motivation for them is. But anyway, Mr. Albanese has since insisted his decision to recognize Palestinian and at the UN helped pave the way for Donald Trump's plan. Yeah, good on you. Good on you. No question, Mr. Albanese told the Australian Financial Review on Wednesday when he pressed on whether the recognition of Palestine had influenced the deal. You've got to be shitting me. Mr. Albanese had earlier welcomed the proposal at the press conference on Tuesday, saying it would help bring an end to the devastating war. I don't think anybody can disagree that it's a devastating war. You know, oh, Jesus, I'd be a bit concerned about, the kind of cultural idealism that would cut people's heads off for sure, but at the same time, I don't think you should be bombing women and children. But Australia affirms the plan's commitment to deny Hamas any role in the future governance of Gaza and calls on Hamas to agree to the plan, lay down its arms, and release all remaining hostages. But let's face it, as far as I understand, they have offered to give the hostages back on many occasions, but Benjamin Netanyahu wants this war because when the war's done, he's got nothing left and everybody hates him, will roll right over the top of it. He needs it to maintain power. Anyway, President Trump's plan reflects a clear rejection of annexation and forced displacement of Palestinians. Hamas, the terrorist group controlling Gaza, would essentially have to sign their own extinction as part of the deal, agreeing to demilitarize and give up political power. I don't see this happening. It does provide Hamas with an offer of amnesty. They won't be prosecuted or tried. They can go into exile. Okay. Instead, the Palestinian Authority has been largely expected to take power as the governing body of the territories. I nearly said terrorists then. The White House realized its 20-point document that called for an immediate ceasefire and the exchange of hostages led by Hamas for Palestine prisoners held by Israel. It also called for a staged Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, Hamas disarmament, and a transitional government led by an international body. Which international body? It was not immediately clear whether the Trump administration and Israel had resolved all the differences, including over the possibility of a future Palestinian state. Mr. Netanyahu has forcibly rejected the possibility of a two-state solution and any role for Palestinian Authority in post-war governance of the enclave. I mean, I'm always staying out of this one as far as who's right and who's wrong, because as far as I'm concerned, they're both wrong. I you know me, I don't particularly like religion. When there's the Jewish face, the Catholic face, or whatever face you want to call it, I think you want peace on earth, religion's going to have to go, or at least evolve to adapt a more open-minded proposal, perhaps. But that's just my thoughts. But anyway, as far as I mean, this one didn't really get into it, but as far as I understand, there was the Americans have basically said, really, what Albo and the rest have done are actually more likely to cause problems, is what I understand. But anyway, where was I going to go with the other one? Close that. I don't want that. So, well, that's right. We want to go back here. So I'm going to oh shit, pain. Right, so this morning Andrew Hastie, MP, another blow for the Liberal Party, as if they could handle any more. They are crumbling from inside as many more jump ship. And I've always thought for the last 5 years the best of the Liberal Party have already left. And it seems whatever is left in the remnants of the Liberal Party, whoever still has some integrity left, again, are leaving because there's a serious issue. So this morning I spoke to the leader, says Andrew Hastie, MP, federal member of Canning, and he's jumping ship. The leader has made it clear that the Shadow Home Affairs Minister won't lead the coalition's response to immigration matters or develop the coalition's immigration strategy. On this basis, I made the decision that I was not able to continue in this role and remain silent on immigration. So, due to the fact that the Liberal Party is basically becoming, a watered down version of the Labor Party, those who actually still hold to any of the pretended ideals the Liberal Party puts forth have gone, you know what, we can't handle this. We're not going to let you continue to destroy our country. If you're not going to show some backbone and stop being complete leftards, we're out. That's my rough translation of what's happening here. So, of course, that was... confirmed. It wasn't just something I've seen somebody made up on the internet. The ABC also reported on that, and they carry on a bunch of left-hearted fuckwits that they are. And I think we can skip that because I can't be bothered. So anyway, well, personally, I think, wow. Well done, Liberal Party. You are continuing your descent into abject chaos, leaving only the Labor Party to destroy now, and they're not doing too well. So well done, Australia, by standing up to, the insanity of leftist UN ideology. Our two major parties are in more shit than an LGABC's finger. So, in response to Keir Starmer's wonderful work that we had a quick squeeze out at the beginning of this podcast here, where we had a look at his tyrannical ideologies towards the digital ID, which no doubt the Labor government will sow its certain final days with by mimicking. A wonderful satirical 1984 art piece has appeared on Scarborough Beach in UK. Minutes later, the police arrived. The jokes write themselves. That's gold, isn't it? Gold. Carry on like a dictator. This is what's going to happen. The people of the planet Earth have had enough. We have all had enough of this ridiculous government shit. Government is the problem. Government causes the problems and then pretends to be the solution that we need. No, we're all wise to this. We've all had enough. We are done. Governments, if you wish to maintain any semblance of your jobs, you need to start listening to the will of the people and stop trying to push your own dumbass idea. I did do a short video the other day, and I have a feeling that I haven't looked at it, but I'm not sure if I've done it before. I'm getting a bit confused with all the painkillers and whatnot and the pain itself lately, but I kind of put the idea out that, do we really need government? Like, seriously, what do we need these people for? They take all our money, do nothing about what we actually want them to do, and continue to make everything worse. If anything, what government has done in recent time has demonstrated that we don't need them. They've done nothing for us, nothing good at all. I see what Jason just said there, and I just instantly thought of a sock puppet for some reason. But anyway, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Sorry, probably not sock puppets. But when I think of these guys, I think a sock puppet would do better. Yeah, I've got a sock puppet, and it would be a better representative of the people than these retards. These people do not represent us. They represent the UN. They represent globalized communism. They don't give a shit, Anyway, moving on. And I wonder why the people of UK might have done that, outside of his digital ID lunacy. But apparently bike thefts at train stations have been decriminalized. I wish this was a joke, but it's absolutely true, says Basil the Great. The police have announced today that they will no longer investigate this, but they will still arrest you for hurty words online. The UK is becoming a third world country. I tell you, it probably already is. Bike thefts at stations decriminalized according to the BBS. I mean, how the hell is that benefiting humanity? How the hell is that benefiting your country, England, UK, United Kingdom, united in stupidity? Like, what the hell? It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. Like, we can't control the crime. So rather than actually deal with the fact that we have a weak as piss criminal system, we're just going to decriminalize it because the police are sick of doing paperwork and never actually finding the bikes because they don't know how to do police work anymore. They're waiting for some, digital scanner to come past and, identify that your license plate hasn't paid for its digital fucking update lately because you didn't get the notice in the mail and forgot because you no longer have a registration sticker on your car. They're more worried about that shit. We need to put more Big Brother stuff in because that way we don't actually have to do any real police work like we've been doing for hundreds of fucking years and actually investigate a crime. Of course, we're not going to get very far because fundamental police work depends on the community actually having faith in them, and the community have fundamentally lost all faith since they became the goon squad for the government in the last 5 years. I don't know. Does it make sense, or is it just a good rant? Anyway, that concludes our what I found on X today, and we'll come back to the final little bits before I part because, back's getting a bit sore. I'm going to have to move on. Share screen. Last little bit for the day. Let's there it is. I opened that one. So in other shocking news from the leftards, Australia ranks third for climate change denial. Media is blamed. Media blamed. Australia has ranked third in the world in its category in the new analysis, but it might not be something to all be proud of. I think it is something to be proud of. Well done, Australia. I want to say I'm very proud of you for being the third. You know, actually, I'm not proud because we should be the first. We should be the best for climate change denial. Fuck off. Climate change denial. You mean we are third highest in the world in being able to spot utter bullshit. You know, now I know I brought this up last week when it comes to the utter bullshit, but I'm going to bring it in again because it just really paints the picture of how retarded this whole fucking thing is. It's just mind-blowingly stupid at this point. Stop sharing that screen. Share this screen. Sorry. You know, I looked at it last week when I was talking to Troy, but it sums it up. Look at this. This is, you know, manipulation. And, you know, for those of you who understand the concept, you know, of the subconscious and the manipulation used by media, marketing and such for Sigmund Freud's work, you know, because things used to be, hey, this is my product and it's good because. All right. Once they figured out how the subconscious works, it became, this is my product, you need it or you will die. You know, much like this climate crap. You know, a US scientist had the audacity. I'm going to add in the little bits that Townsville Bulletin really want to say and what's being said in this picture. So, you know, we'll add in the words that are missing because the picture is telling us more than what the words are. So a US scientist dared to dispute a federal government climate change paper saying it doesn't pass the laugh test. And I'm going to cry. And that's why I got my little crying face for you to say, no, that's not real. And you have to believe my psychotic delusion. I'm the Townsville Bulletin journalist and I know best for you. I really do. So, fuck you, Townsville Bulletin. That's what I think of your journalism. So anyway, you can see the manipulative psych job that they've done, where they've attempted to make you emotionally involved and concerned that your world is on fire. And this poor firefighter is the only thing that's standing between you and fucking climate change. Retarded. So obviously, click the sad face if you're a fuckwit still stupid enough to believe Townsville Bulletin reporters have any form of intelligence. Or click the happy yes when you see through your bullshit. 688 people at the time of the capture said, fuck you, we see through the bullshit. 37 said, I'm still a fucking retard and I'm crying because I actually believe Townsville Bulletin journalists have any credibility left. So I calculated that's over 94% of the population that looked at the Townsville Bulletin page at that particular, up until that particular time that I took this screenshot, are intelligent enough to see through the psychological manipulation and utter bullshit that passes for journalism in this fucking world. Of course, the media is to blame. They've used the same fucking scare tactics for decades. Since I was a kid, they were pushing this propaganda, and we're all wise to it now. So anyway, if we're not done laughing at the fucking stupidity, you did that so well. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. It's you know, it's a talent. It's a talent. You know, all you got to do is speak from the heart and know that what you're doing is right. It's not hard. It's not hard. And I believe all you people could do this, you know, because you know you're right. We know we're right. That's why we're gathered here to pat ourselves on the back for being intelligent enough to know this. I have faith that all of you can do this. Anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can. So Australia has almost 3 times as many climate change deniers as the global worldwide average. And apparently it's the media's fault for being shit at their jobs. Sips to that, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I'm going to do this again. I looked it up live the other day because I like to call them the lame stream. And some people might think, you know, it's a bit of an insult, but it's actually very true. So lame definition. Right? And according to the DuckDuckGo search, it comes up as a noun, a thin metal plate, especially one of the overlapping steel plates in medieval armor. So it's a really accurate description to use for the mainstream media in this context, because the mainstream media are kind of like the armor of stupidity, the armor of leftist stupidity, and it's best described as medieval at best. It's certainly not going to stop armor-piercing rounds, like truth. The armor-piercing round of truth is coming right through your shitty medieval armor. Okay, so it's true in that sense, but it's also very true in the sense that as an adjective, disabled so that movement, especially walking, is difficult or impossible. Well, let's face it, these people can't move. They're stuck in their primitive, fucked up ideology of left-hardation. These are communist fuckwits who cannot see any other color than red. That's why they're always angry, because they always see red. Anyway, and marked by pain or rigidness. Well, that's what they cause for the rest of us. Probably why I have such horrific back pain. I guess that's maybe the psychological manifestation of having to read leftist bile every time you look at the mainstream media. So that's just my way of interpreting an actual dictionary definition of lame and how it implies so accurately to the lamestream media. What do you think? Did I do that well? Was that good? Anyway, a new analysis of Australian news consumers, that's you. Thanks for your support. And actually, I did partake in a study regarding this the other day. So I can say that I was a part of telling them, yeah, fuck off. Found 18% of people think climate change is not a serious issue. I'm actually very disappointed, Australia. 18%? Come on. There should be 99% of Australians realize that climate change is not a serious issue. Anyway, of those, 10% said the issue was not very serious and 8% said was not at all. I'm in that 8%, I guess, that said it's not at all an issue. It's an absolute joke. Another 15% said they straight up don't pay attention to news about climate change. Wow, that number climbs that number climbs to 21% in regional areas. People that live in regional areas and can see that everything's fine because they live in regional areas, they should be shocked, apparently. Well, maybe we just don't get as much bullshit propaganda because our lamestream media is lame in the sense that they don't actually have the economic value given to the major cities, as I can attest to personally, having worked for these filthy slime bags. Australia is ranked 3rd in the world for climate change denial. Those 8% of people who say it's not at all serious, behind the United States, 12%, and Sweden. We've got a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen. We need more than 8% of people saying it's not a serious issue at all. I'm disappointed. What the hell? Images in my head right now. As part of that arrangement, I was going to say arrogant assumption, the universities of stupidity compiles the Australian version of the. See all these Freudian terms popping out of my subconscious, and recently realized its 6th iteration of the study. This year, we asked about climate change. If people are concerned about the issue and where they get news and information about it. So obviously we need to really worry about where people are consuming their information, because they're not looking at the propaganda anymore. Well, we've just noted that people who look at the lamestream propaganda are actually going, you know what, we can see through it. It's bullshit. It's obvious. You can't keep showing us the same dumb pictures and expect us to keep fucking believing this. They're not even coming up with a good bullshit story anymore. Sips. Researchers said the results from the total sample size of 2,131 people show climate change is at the forefront of many Australians' minds. Really? Probably because you won't shut up about it. And that around 80% said it was somewhat, very, or extremely dangerous. Now, those who actually think it's very extremely dangerous, let's have a look. Very serious was 23%, extremely dangerous 35%. So it's about half the people are stupid. Completely fucking complete morons. 21%, well, they think it's kind of serious, but they're starting to get it, and they're not serious and not at all serious. And well, if you don't know, for fuck's sake, it's really not a lot of hope for you, is there? It's just, I'm personally disappointed. I think there's not enough intelligent people in the sample size, clearly, glad I was there to produce at least, another vote in the right direction. They noted that regional and rural areas, I guess that's me, consumers were less likely to think it was a serious problem despite the drought, bushfires, and floods. Because they've always fucking been there, you fucking retards. Anyway, men were more likely than women to think climate change wasn't a big deal. Now they're being sexist. Younger Australians tended to be more concerned, probably because they've gone through the socialist indoctrination center where you've just pumped this shit into their fucking heads over and over again, with only 1% of Gen Z respondents saying climate change was not at all a serious issue, whereas 20% of those aged over 74 did not think climate change was serious at all because they're old enough to have seen the propaganda before and have been around long enough to know, you know what, it was fucking hot back in the day too, and it's still fucking hot in summer, and you know what, when it's winter, it's fucking cold, and it's still fucking cold. It's amazing. It's cold in winter and it's hot in summer. I don't know, like Senator Malcolm Roberts used to say, said in one of his speeches, what did weather used to, what did climate change used to be called? The weather. It's fucking retarded, retards. Of course, these poor, Alan Jones and nationally syndicated newspaper columnist Andrew Bolt of Sky News. They're obviously horrible people. Never mind the fact that they're no doubt funded by the same kind of people who are playing both sides and just want to make a profit and turn a buck anyway. Never mind the fact that most of this information that's coming out is from Rupert Murdoch, who owns most of the fucking newspapers and a large portion of television as well. And also owns Sky News and the left-wing propaganda network. So go figure. He's playing both sides of the field, isn't he? He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. Sips. If it's more profitable, that's all that matters to that fucker. That's all that matters. So anyway, that's enough on climate crap. A Senate warned of 108 million foreign network undermining Australia's energy security. Apparently there's more climate crap, sorry. The Australian Senate has just received a bombshell evidence that over 100 million in foreign funding is driving coordinated campaigns to disrupt Australia's coal, gas, and nuclear energy industries. That looks like political interference from a foreign body to me. I don't think we need to read any further, do we? It pretty much says it all. A Senate inquiry has been presented with the evidence that more than 100 million in foreign funding has been funneled into Australian activist groups. So that seems like paid for terrorism, perhaps, could be another way of looking at it, with the express aim of dismantling the nation's coal, gas, and nuclear future. Given that energy is a very important component to societal development, keeping the aircon on those hot days. Yeah, you'll believe in climate change when you can't fucking run the aircon on a hot day or pump the heater on a cool day. We'll make sure of it. Fucking hell, it's terrorism. I'm sorry, they're fucking with our ability to create and do anything. Industries won't work. The commercial enterprises, nothing works. Your fucking electric cars are going nowhere without power. And this is a targeted $100 million foreign interference assault on our energy grid. That is terrorism. That is international political interference. And they're worried about Trump. Fuck me. These people are retarded. This is the biggest foreign interference operation in modern Australian history. Hey, look, it's not just me, Mr. Holland said in the recent opinion piece of the Courier Mail. Yes, biggest foreign interference operation in Australian history. This is what ASIO should be looking at. This shit. Not people for making posts on the fucking internet. Where's Karen on this shit? At least 108 million, likely far more, has been directed into advocacy groups whose purpose is to shut down Australia's energy industry. If that's not terrorism, I don't know what is. We've got terrorist laws in place, compliments of, those little cupcakes with the twin towers on it, when we're throwing little icing bits there, pretending they're fucking airplanes and setting the whole bake shop on fire. For those of you who watched earlier, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're not, you're going to have to go back and you'll understand the joke. Anyway, you're worried those political laws are in place. You could pretty much just go, yep, terrorist, and detain anybody for, I think it was 3 to 4 days without a warrant. No, all you have to do is say terrorist. Any group that is funding, that is attacking our energy industry should be labeled as a terrorist, as far as I'm concerned. Detain them. Go. Let's see how these people won't last long without an iPhone. I reckon you won't need 3 days. They'll dob in who's funding them pretty quickly, especially without their iPhone to ask for help, because they're not exactly intelligent people. They don't know how to think for themselves. That's why they believe this shit in the first place. It'd be the easiest operation in police history, you know. And I send this to you, ASIO, and the police. If you actually want the Australian public's frigging trust back, do it. Go for them. Take them out. Go and investigate this shit. Actually show that the money we invest in these things actually does something. Take down a real terrorist organization, for Christ's sake. The December September 2025 submission in the Senate Select Committee on Information Integrity on Climate Change and Energy sets out how a network of well-financed organizations has embedded itself in Australian politics. They've fucking done themselves in. This is another example of giving people enough rope to freaking hang themselves. Well done. Very good. Very good. According to the research, the campaign is neither grassroots nor spontaneous. Instead, it is a centrally coordinated operation aimed at eliminating coal and gas while blocking nuclear energy as a reliable alternative. We have revealed the biggest foreign here's Jared Holland influence operation in Australian history. Overseas cash behind local Greens gaslighters. And they wonder why we are third climate change deniers when you've got evidence to say we should be. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you share this. You know, maybe I should grab this little section and really get into it, you know, make a short little video or something. I'll see how I go. But look, it's pretty evident. It's pretty evident that this is a terrorist action. This is not a political party. This is not concern for the environment. This is terrorism straight out with a purposeful design to destroy our country by taking out our energy grid. Come on. Don't need to invade when you're bloody getting people to destroy themselves. This is suicide. It's like the greenie equivalent of a Muslim fucking terrorist with a bomb strapped to his chest. These people are insane. So, positive update for Indian students seeking high-quality education. I bet you're excited about that. The positive update for Indians. Indian student visas assessment level for Australia has moved from level 3 to level 2. Do I need to say any more? Good for Indians. Is it good for Australia? Don't we have enough cab drivers overcharging and ripping us off? I don't want to catch a cab anymore. When I got up here, we had Townsville cabs, and I caught a cab and I was amazed. I got an old school Aussie cab driver who'd been driving for 20 years, had a yarn to you, and it was like going into a fucking time warp. I'm like, oh, I remember this, you know, wow, I didn't have to argue and wrestle, you know, I didn't get driven off on. Like they picked me up and took me where I went and was nice and polite, gave the guy a tip for being Australian and being what I remember. 13 Cabs has now infiltrated that scenario and back to the way I remember it in Melbourne. Key changes include reduced upfront financial evidence of course-dependent English test requirements. Gold Coast-based registered migration agent Seema Katuha told the Australian today. I don't know about this person. Told the Australian today that this is a positive update for Indian international students seeking high-quality education opportunities in Australia. You know, I've got a better idea. Why don't they educate their own people? If they're so friggin' good and their country's so great, why can't they educate their own people? Why do we have to do it? What about the Australians who would like an education? Is there any space left for them? So apparently it's now a moderate risk. More documentation might be required depending on the country. Higher risk, stricter evidence required. Like, everything should be level 3 if you're coming from a foreign country these days, because you don't know how many countries they bounce through to get to where they are. So what you're going to see is Chinese communist terrorists coming in through India. I mean, they're pretty close on the map. I mean, geography is never my strong point, so I better check this. World map, Asia. Let's have a look, shall we? What country borders India? Oh my God, China. Turns out I'm not that bad at geography. Fuck me. Anyone else see a problem here? Or is it just me? Good for communists, isn't it? Good for communists. So anyway, more on Keir Starmer. Far right is a very real threat. Wow. Personally, I consider myself well-centered. For those who don't remember the document, little diagram, I'll draw it again. WC, it's not West Side Connection. Don't get confused. Yeah, I got my left and right. Isn't that good? Right. So well-centered at the top, left and right. As you descend away from a well-centered point of view, you will find yourself rock bottom if you go left, and the same if you go right. This is a very simple roadmap to stupidity. And you find yourself in the fiery inferno of socialism. On the left, you have communist Russia. On the right, you have Nazi Germany. Both socialist workers' parties, both ended up in the fiery pits of hell. You probably can't see it because I chose the wrong texter, but I'm sure if you follow it along, you'll get the rough idea. I'll do it up properly at a later date. Anyway, you get the point. So, where was I? Which one? What do you reckon? This way? That way? Yeah, we'll do that. So far right is a very real threat, says Keir Starmer. Of course he says that. People are putting 1984 pictures of him all over the fucking beach, pointing out that he's a digital ID Nazi and all sorts of other horrible things, like that truth. It's just so damn horrible. The far right is a very real threat, which needs to be combated, Sir Keir Starmer. Yes, sir. Fucking, what was that bloody show they used to have with it? It was one of them, wartime propaganda Nazi things where all the Germans were bad guys, wearing helmets, and they were overseeing a prison, and I can't think of the name of it. Hogan's Heroes. It's like Hogan's Heroes, and he is one of the German fucking leaders of the concentration camp right here. And who's he met with recently and took body photos with? Our mate Elbow. Don't they look the same with the same sort of glasses, the same shit haircut, same crap suits that we paid for? It's astounding. But apparently, far right is a real threat, especially when you call anybody you don't like far right. Like I said, I'm staying in the not West Side Connection, the well-centered category where I get to stand above you all and look it down and go, sorry, left, right, bad. Left, right, bad. Exactly. People of the power. Anyone who doesn't agree with him is far right, and that's the way the communists think. That's the way left-hard Asian thinks. But far right says the same thing. Far right says everything on the left is bad too. So you got to be aware. That's why you need to be well-centered, not West Side Connection. Well-centered. Western Society Connection, perhaps. There's another one. Hey, that could be a name. My new rap group, Western Civilization Connection. Thank you, Ice Cube. Anyway, so the idiot in France is thinking the same thing by the look of it. In Germany, far-right anti-immigration party. Holy shit. It's amazing how they have the same fucking ideas and the same problems in all these Western nations. Alternative for Germany won 16% of the vote. Oh, my God. We can't have people thinking freely and voting for the wrong things. And, yes, sir, Keir traveled to Paris on Wednesday evening for the Paralympics. I thought it was Paralympics. I don't know. I could have so much fun with that word. But anyway, Paralympics opening ceremony, meeting President Macron. Of course, these left-wing leaders of the world, they're the leading people there to represent mental health problems, perhaps. Is that why they love the Paralympics so much? Anyway, the PM said the pair discussed the situation in Ukraine and the Middle East. Oh my God, could you imagine what that fucking conversation was like? If you were a fly on the wall, you'd commit suicide, I think. It comes after a visit to Berlin on Wednesday, the home of Nazi Germany, where he began talks with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on the new cooperation agreement covering issues including trade, energy security, and tackling illegal immigration. Oh, fucking God. Can you imagine what that conversation was like? The meetings are part of the government's attempts to reset relations with Europe after Brexit. How dare people want to be a part of their own thing? Riots show how UK's far right has changed. Far right parties on the rise across Europe. Oh, good old BBC reporting. Isn't it nice of them to have these little links to support their own bullshit propaganda? You know, any wonder we call them the lamestream, you know. Bad armor. And of course, the armor-piercing round of truth is coming through. Asked how worried he was about the far right at home and abroad. Sir, yes, sir. Nazi Germany and Keir Starmer told broadcasters, I am worried about the far right. I'm worried about populism. Holy shit, things being popular. I mean, politics is supposed to be about popularism. That's what you fucking work on. That's what you, yeah, it's just not your right kind of popular. It's the left kind. I see. Yeah, okay. And nationalism. Oh no, people that actually care about their own nation. Fuck me, what a horrible concept. And the politics of the easy answer, the snake oil, if you like. Really? What, like COVID-19 vaccinations? Anyway, it's very important that we have a debate about how we confront that. My own personal views is that through delivery, through showing their progressive democratic answers, how is democracy and your kind of communism even remotely intertwined? It's basically trying to put negative and negative together. Let's face it. Answers to the many challenges we face is the way forward. No, what the real way forward is actually democracy, you know, and like what I mean by democracy isn't voting an elected dictator in every fucking 3 or 4 years. What I'm talking about is a representative who comes up with ideas and then turns to the people and says, would you like to vote on this idea? Do you think it's a good idea? That is democracy. Hey, we would like to have a stupid exhibition on the plates and cups and stuff that I have in my cupboard, says Liam Mooney. Or would you like to fix the sewage flooding through people's homes? Which one would you like, people? And putting it to the people and asking them. No, fuckwits like Liam Mooney want to show off his little plates and saucers and his cups because he's a fuckwit left-hard. Fuck you for complaining about sewage running through your home. How dare you? We've got plates and cups to talk about here, and we need an art exhibition that costs Townsville shitloads of money because I'm self-indulgent and my name's Liam Mooney. Fuck you, Townsville. My God. Anyway, these people piss me off. On another note, you know, all those people who, you know, getting upset at Aboriginals over, you know, the welcome to country. Well, you know what? You can't blame the Aboriginal people because apparently they don't agree with it either. Big hoo-ha. There was a thing, you know, Aboriginal activist unleashes on fake token welcome to country ceremonies. I've had a gutful of this guilt trip crap from Aboriginal people themselves. It's interesting. I find that I can find Aboriginal people that say the same thing. You know, I originally seen this on a page to social media erupts as an Aboriginal activist says, we don't want this stupid welcome to country crap anymore. Oh my God, what a horrible thing. So, you know, I did a bit of digging and I found exactly what was said. And, you know, rather than get some lamestream version of what happened, let's actually get to what actually happened. What did she say that upset all these poor little leftists?
Of this fake token welcome to country crap. Every damn footy game.
Oh, here we go.
I've had a gutful of this fake token welcome to country crap. Every damn footy game, cricket match, concert, you name it. We've got to sit through the same rehearsed nonsense. Like it actually means anything to the average Aussies. It's not culture. It's a box-ticking exercise pushed down our throats. You want real respect? How about we honor the people who actually built and protected this country, our Anzac, our veteran, the men and women who gave their lives so that we can enjoy a beer and watch a game and live free. Instead of some awkward speech nobody connects with, let's have a minute silence. before the game. Let's raise the flag, play the anthem proud, and remember our fallens. That's real, that's Aussie, not this guilt trip ritual that does more to divide us than unite us. Time to stand up for real culture, our shared Aussie identity.
Not my words. I didn't say it. I can you imagine again being a fly on the wall in an elbow office full of left-hearted fuckwits going, how do we call her racist? How do we do that? How do we make an Aboriginal woman a racist for saying things we don't like? Can we? I don't know. Can we pull out the far right card, elbow? Oh, I don't know. Quick, let's turn on the TV set and see what Michael Douglas has to say. Wow. Could you imagine? Can you imagine the conversations these poor leftists are having as they desperately attempt to make sense of this fucking stuff that is just so full of sense? You know, the armor-piercing rounds of truth are coming through, and these people don't know what to do about it. That's why they're concerned about the far right, anything far away from them, far away from the stupidity. So, big sips and cheers to the Aboriginal people who understand we need to come together. And I'm happy to come together anytime, ladies and gentlemen. Sips to that. We need to stop thinking about things in terms of this race and that race and just sit down and share ideas. Sit around the campfire and have that yarn. Just talk. Fuck Netflix off. Fuck the leftist bullshit. Get out there and actually have a conversation, you know. Don't find the drunks in the park. Don't find the idiot politicians. Go and find the real human beings and sit down and have that conversation and go, right, how are we going to make things better for us all? That's what it's about. This good versus evil shit hasn't really worked out well throughout history because everybody's enemy is evil, whether they're right or wrong. You know, the leftists come from the point of view where they think they're right. The right people come from where they think they're right. Well, the guys on the right actually are on the right, I guess. They're not on the left side. They're on the... Anyway, we could joke about left side, wrong side, all you like. At the end of the day, we're well-centered at the top of the circle, looking down, going, for fuck's sake, people, can you stop arguing over stupid shit and get on with it? That's what we should be really worried about, getting things together, actually achieving a real state of democracy. Excuse me, a real state of actual communication where a government actually says, hey, people, can you tell us what you think we should do? Could you imagine it? Like having like some sort of, you know, the Australian government website was actually set up as a voting system, you know, and if you're concerned about these issues, would you like to vote on how we deal with it? And the people can get in and actually vote on what they think is the best solution, rather than being dictated to, rather than listening to a political party who says, I'm going to get in pushing this idea, or I'm going to get in pushing this idea. What about a politician that actually said, you know what? I'm not a part of a party. I'm not a part of a preconceived idea. I'm here to represent you, the people. I want you to tell me what we should do. I'm not here to tell you we should have less immigration or more integration. Why don't I just come and say, would you like more or would you like less? What would you like to do? How fucking scary is that? I think I just found myself in the far right bin and ASIO helicopters are flying over the top at the mere suggestion of such logic. Fuck me. That armor-piercing round must have penetrated pretty hard. Oh my God. The lies just fell down. Oh, sips, ladies and gentlemen. So, as you're tucking yourself into bed tonight, don't forget to give yourself a moment to meditate and put out the idea of a real democracy where you actually get a say in your society more than just ticking a box once every 4 or 5 years. How is that a democracy? A tick a box once every 3 or 4 years? Fuck off. That's not democracy. That's bullshit. That's the illusion of choice. So was that? I agree, Harps, but I think we all need to vote Troy Thompson back in to send a message. Rocket is 100% correct. Sorry, I'm just going to grab this for a second. Thank you. I agree, Harps, but it's time. We need to vote Troy Thompson back in because that's what he's doing. That's what he's offering the people. He's like, you vote me in and send that message that we have had enough. Townsville's had enough of the corruption. We've had enough of the bullshit, you know. We don't need to look at how stupid Nick DeMeadows' argument is. We don't need to look at how stupid fucking Anne-Marie Greening's argument or any other idiots who are going to put their hand up successively over the next week or two, you know. I mean, God, can you imagine being so arrogant that you're Anne-Marie Greedy thinking that they would vote you in as mayor? Fuck me dead. I mean, it's concerning that it's a postal vote. We're going to need a lot of good people to put their hand up and scrutineer this. We need a lot of good people to look over this shit. We need to be really anal, and not in a leftist way, you know, like, you know, attention to detail kind of anal, you know. So anyway, I was just thinking of Dogma, and there was that moment there, you know, you can't be anal retentive without an anus. I don't know if it makes any sense. It was a weird joke, and it just popped into my head for some strange reason. Who's watched Dogma? Great movie. Anyway, I thought it was really good. Funny. I don't know if God is a woman. I don't think God subjects itself to such limited corporeal concepts myself. I guess I think a little bit beyond corporeal entities myself. Concept that I don't think we mere mortals will ever truly comprehend. So, just have a beer. Sips. Okay, Rocket, what's your 3 questions, mate? Well, the bully, I don't think they'll do it because the bully have decided they are this guy, Judge Dredd, for those who don't know, who also seem to think he was judge, jury, and executioner. And of course, we know the Townsville bully and their leftist bullshit is going to bullshit their way through this and try to tell you that you shouldn't vote for Troy because he's talking about democracy and we're left-hearted communist fuckwits and what we really want is to be controlled because I'm such a stupid slave that I want more people to whip me into shape. Fucking retards. I mean, even being that fucking stupid. Feel sorry for them. I really do. Talking shit about Troy in Brizzy News tonight about him lying about a cancer diagnosis. Oh, okay. Bay. Slow deprogramming, too fucking slow for many of us. Yeah. I've been watching this all my life in aghast and shock. I reckon it must have taken me about 25 years just to figure out what the fuck was wrong with everyone around me and realize, hang on, no, I am seeing this, right? It's all you lot are fucked. I then have to sit there quietly once upon a time, one at a time, coming across an intelligent person every now and then going, thank the universe for putting one intelligent person on my path that one day, once every 6 months or something, you know, like it's just so few and far between. Patty, who the fuck was that weird guy you were just talking to? There's somebody who gets shit that you don't. Sorry, mate, I'm not going to get into it. I had a lot of conversations like that. The NPCs are waiting for orders from the government. Yeah. And so here's an interesting idea I want to put to people. You know, the idea of the AI, the simulation theory, and everybody calls, you know, these people, they're NPCs, non-player characters. I don't know if you've ever watched the movie with the guy who plays Deadpool. Can never think of his name. He eats a lot of salmon, apparently. There's a movie called Free Guy. It's pretty funny. And it's the idea of an NPC that kind of wakes up and gains a kind of sentience. Very interesting concept. All he had to do was not go along with the programming. It was funny. A hilarious movie, excuse me. I highly recommend you go and have a look at it. But on that note, it got me thinking about that idea. And I thought to myself, what if the NPC characters aren't really NPC? They've just chosen to be. Every player on planet Earth, or 6 billion, 7 billion, however billion many of us there are now, aren't NPCs without choosing to be. How's that for an idea? And all an NPC has to do to stop being an NPC is start thinking for themselves. Very simple concept. Ryan Reynolds, thank you, Harps. Cheers, appreciate it, mate. I always forget his name. Probably because you always think of his character. You know, I guess it's a problem when you pretend to be other people. You forget who you actually are. Maybe, I don't know. There's another idea. The NPC, you know, the actor who forgot who they are because they're so busy playing other roles and other characters, actually forget who they are. You know, it was an interesting psychological concept that I come up with as playing in a band. You know, that I realized how many times as I changed band and became a different identity and a different character for the purpose of the band, you end up adopting elements of the character you create psychologically, because you act that role out so many times. You actually do become it. So, you know, it's the same as the idea that, you know, one of the original Superman actually thought he was Superman, jumped off a fucking building, apparently, you know, playing the same character for so long, eventually you think you are, you know. I mean, that kind of trickery that you play on your own self to become the character actually will affect your psychology at a certain point. That's my own personal observation. You know, I think it's probably a good thing I didn't really become the rock star sort of thing, because I would have kept playing that character and ended up becoming the character. And you have to wonder how many times actors actually become more, well, less of themselves and more of the character, you know. Even with old mate who played the Joker, you know, in the end he was having some problems, and, you know, was it, again, I've forgotten his name, the Australian guy played the best Joker I've ever seen in Batman Begins. Was it? No, it wasn't Batman Begins, the other Batman, one of them Batmans. But yeah, he played that character so fucking well that you could see, fuck me, could he come back from that? He did that really well, scarily well. Yeah. You got to wonder, you know, is it healthy for all that kind of role playing? NPCs subconsciously know the true souls are there, and they are programmed to attack all true souls. One example is the narcissist. Yes, well, the narcissist is an example of it's a mental condition, you know, and that's why I think it's important that we stop thinking about this as we're fighting an enemy. We're fighting mentally ill people, you know. Having spent 25 years realizing that it's not me, it's everybody else, and then the rest of the last 20 odd years going, okay, so what do we do about it? Heath Ledger, thank you. The Dark Knight, that was the movie. Cool, cheers. Good to know you guys watch the same shit I do. Maybe that's what sent us all wrong. We watched the wrong movies. We were supposed to watch those left-hard ones where raping children was a good idea, I guess. No, we should never do that. It's horrible. Yeah. Why would you think that? You naughty people. Sips. But yeah, that's why we need to stop thinking about this in terms of these are the enemy. These are mentally ill, sick people that need help. You know, and their kind of mental illness requires such validation from other people. They have to recruit and infect other people with their mental illness in order to convince themselves that what they're doing is right. You know, they need to continue to remember that the world is a stage and we're all just acting out left-heartation. No. This whole stage concept needs to end. There is no stage. This is the planet Earth, and we're all real fucking people. And you need to actually start thinking about the fact that you're a real living flesh and blood entity with a mind, body, spirit complex. And unfortunately, some of us are very, very ill, very, very sick. They're soul sick, they're mentally sick, and they're physically sick. They need help. Not to start another war, not to go to crazy town, to actually calmly use the ammunition of truth. That's the only weapon we need. Eventually, the lie collapses because it has nothing left to stand on. Very simple. We just pull the rug of lies out from underneath them and they'll land flat bang in the truth. Those are my final words for the day, ladies and gentlemen. My back is killing me. I can't believe I managed to sit here this long. Mind you, I did stand up and stretch and all that shit while you weren't looking, because that's the kind of, clever fucker I am sometimes. Sips, one final drink with you, my beautiful friends and family of the new age. To thine own self be true. Because if you can't be true to yourself, how can you be true to anybody else? You have a great one. Enjoy yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. And I look forward to seeing what you can do in this new world, what you can do to make the world a better place. And by all means, don't forget to let me know what you did. Drop me a line at NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com. Let me know what amazing things you do, because this isn't my network. It's your network. I'm just the custodian. Take care.